6, 5, 4, 3.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Welcome to our lifestyle series. Today, we're specifically talking about fishing in Idaho. We've got a great I don't know. I'll call them a cast of characters to chat a little bit about this. Give you some insight into the fishing in Idaho. For example, the reference here for the great white sturgeon. Give you a little bit of an example of what we've got here. What I think it was in Hell's Canyon up by Lewiston area. One of our inspectors and his team went
Oh,
up and
yeah.
caught this monster sturgeon. So this is just giving you some idea of the great fishing we have here in the Idaho area. Keith and I are just going to kind of sit here and ask questions because we need to learn about fishing in general, but Dr. and Nate can talk to their experience. They've got way more to chat about than we do. So with that, real quick, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm your host for today. I'm the associate broker team lead at My Home Connection. I'm glad to put on this series. If you find value in it, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to answer any questions that you might have, and be glad to help either in your transition to Idaho or across Idaho. We do have a sponsor, and we'd like to just give some credit to the gentleman on the conversation today. So we'll do that briefly or make an introduction. So with that, how about I'll just start from top to bottom. Nate, you want to give us a brief introduction?
Sure. My name's Nathan Wyatt. I have the privilege of living here in the great state of Idaho and knowing this motley crew of gentlemen. Gentlemen's a kind word, but right, of these guys that a lot of us have a great commonality, and of course, our great commonality has been something that each of us bring into our daily lives. And I like my wife and I like to bring in some of our um, love for caring for other people and stuff like that through our business, which is Idaho Gift Baskets. And so I get the opportunity of doing that at work too. So yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of Idaho gift baskets, we'll show you
Nice.
him and Katrin's website. So if you have any need on a business or personal level for baskets, I've been using Idaho gift basket services for what, a couple years now, Nate. So we'll introduce
Yeah,
you
pre-COVID.
pre-COVID. Yep. So it's been a minute. And then Nate, you were actually a guide formerly, correct? A fishing guide.
Yeah. I was going to tell you real quick. Um, have any of you guys heard about there's a private pond in Parma that you can catch sturgeon. It's called Schwartz. It's $25 a day. You can go out. It's total redneck, but it is so much fun. It's a beautiful little place. It's called Schwartz Sturgeon Pond. If you just search Sturgeon Pond, Parma, Idaho, and it's this funny old guy, geezer dude that has this beautiful little piece of property in the desert in
Nice.
Parma, and he's got a little bass pond, a big sturgeon pond. I mean, they're big. He has one in there that they call Trump, and but he's about 8 feet long or so.
Wow.
But you can catch and you take pickled herring and took him out there and then you'll catch them and then you know the rules with sturgeon, of course, is you can't bring them out of the water, so you have to be
Oh,
very
interesting.
careful on how you handle them.
Right.
Yeah,
Good point. Good point. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
How
hmm
about yourself, Dr? You mind giving us a brief introduction?
Yeah, that's really neat, by the way, Nate. Thanks for sharing that. I didn't realize that. I grew up just a little bit south of Parma, so I'm gonna have to ask them
Oh, you're
guys that I
gonna.
know out there if they knew about that.
Oh yeah, no, you'll. Have you ever? Yeah. Anyway, long story. You'll when you see the guy, you will have seen him 1,000 times. You'll know who he is. So even if you haven't been
Yeah,
out there,
yeah,
he's a well-known
yeah. Well,
character in Idaho. Yeah.
that sounds like a neat deal for sure. Kids, I just blow their mind to see this big old sturgeon come up on the end of the line.
Hmm.
So I don't know how much delay there is. I noticed I got a little bit of a pause, a little delay on the camera, so hopefully the audio is right there on track. But yeah,
Audio sounds good.
my name's Dr. Bledsoe. Born and raised. Had the opportunity to work with Jerod and on a handful of deals, and Keith, and just kind of getting to meet Nate. So appreciate that, Nate. We're looking forward to some good fishing talk. And I've been on the real estate side of things for going on, I don't know, 5 years now or so. But also I'm a director of operations at a local commercial construction outfit, and so I stay busy with that, along with being a dad and coaching and running three boys around all the time. So life's good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're super excited about our conversation around hunting because Dr. was formerly a hunting guide. Did you just do hunting, or did you do other? I know you did some recreation, like snowmobile treks and stuff, right, Dr.?
Yeah, so we ran a year-round lodge. So we did hunts in the spring and fall, and then in the summer we would do like the Idaho outdoor experience, as I would refer to it. We did a lot with horses and horsemanship. We were on a big cattle ranch, so you kind of got the full meal deal of that. And then, correct, in the winter we guided backcountry snowmobilers as well, and did a lot of clinics. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, so make sure you follow or subscribe for that. Dr. is, I'm sure, going to bring a lot of good information to that podcast, so you'll get notified when that's released. And then, last but not least, is a good friend Keith Kellum. Mind introducing yourself, Keith?
Hello. So my name is Keith Kellum, and I have been here in Boise, Idaho for almost 20 years now, and just love Idaho. Feel like it is home now, and
From?
from
Please share.
I'm from California, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I had a wonderful upbringing.
Yeah. Well, I think it says a lot that you're from California, but you love Idaho. You know what I mean?
Oh, it does. It was a interesting family circumstance that brought me here. But once I was here, I have to say that I just fall in love with the place more and more every year. Didn't grow up with Four Seasons, but they always surprise me, especially here in Boise, Idaho, when the calendar says the next thing. It's that day. It's really amazing to watch. And I paint houses here in Boise, and
Antioch
also Antioch painting here in Boise, Idaho, and I'm very pleased to be in great company.
Keith and I are both super excited about the mountain biking
Shoot,
conversation. We're not fishermen, as I mentioned, but we definitely love a lot of the other recreation. Probably at the top of our list is mountain biking. So we'll have fun on that podcast.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah. So with that, real quick, what I want to do is just give you some information around some resources that you'll have access to. The series that we're doing is this is myhomeconnection.com, so you'll see the Why Idaho link on the webpage, and obviously depending on what you want to learn more about, feel free to select that. Today, as I meant, as we discussed, we'll be talking about the topic of fishing, so we'll have a lot of really good content here for you to review, things you'll need to consider when you go fishing, species in the state of Idaho, places to go fishing. We'll try to get Nate's recommendation out there in Parma on this list as well. So, and then we'll embed this video down here at the bottom if you want to replay it in the future or share that out. And then, of course, all the other podcasts, we'll be putting those in this series as well. And then, real quick, we do want to show you just briefly here Nate's and Katrin's website for Idaho gift baskets. It's just idahogiftbaskets.net, correct, Nate?
Yeah, .net or .com or
Either one, okay.
it's there. Yep.
Yep. Great resource. So we highly encourage that. We do want to talk real quickly about our sponsor today, and it's the Perfect Home Buying Process. For those of you that are moving into Idaho, moving across Idaho, we've built a 5-step process to help make that process more efficient, save you some money on the offers. We've got upwards of $1,000 to help you with your home inspection and or appraisal, and a podcast series, a lot of real estate secrets. We've got a relocation guide we can share with you. So the best way to leverage that or to take advantage of that is to just simply go back to the My Home Connection website. Just reach out to us, text or email, and reference this home buying process, and we'll introduce you to that 5-step program and get things started. But other than that, we do want to get onto the topic of the day here and just kind of open up the dialogue in regards to again, types of fishing, species that you can catch, kind of favorite spots, things like that. I think one thing we might do real quick is just show some of Nate's photos here. I showed you the one with the sturgeon, but let me
let's do it.
Yeah,
those are great photos.
Yeah, let me get that for you here. Let's
Isn't a sturgeon supposed to be the closest thing to a dinosaur we have left?
I think so.
I think I've heard that. Yeah, I mean, super old, but yeah, I could totally see that.
That is my good friend Chris, and he and I are fishing buddies, and we go out and do different things. And that is a sizable rainbow trout. That's the primary species that you'll find in Idaho that's worth catching. There's also what they call pike minnows or squawfish and different things. But this one is actually on a private ranch that's out near Island Park, Idaho, which is the eastern part of the state. What's interesting about this ranch is you can actually rent it for $100 per day, and they only let I think 4 or 6 guys on it a day, so you can go in and pay $100 and you can even camp on it. I have designated camping places. But the water behind there is actually a canal that is off the Snake River near the Henry's Fork. And those canals just get loaded with just beautiful big lunkin fish. So,
by the way, is that your special effects, Nate? The water?
Sorry.
My special effects?
That noise, that water noise, is that from you?
Did you hear? What did I do?
We're hearing water flowing. I thought I was hoping it was you.
Oh, sorry. I'm in the restroom. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that was in that. It was embedded in that picture. That's too funny.
I'm actually in the John.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think that one down there is actually a video down at the bottom. But the funny spot is, or the funny place or thing is that all these spots, for years, I used to tell people this is, I always told people, hey, where is that? I said, it's off of Cow Creek Road, and every single county's got like 4 or 5 Cow Creek Roads. And so it would be hard for anyone to know where it's at. But I will say this, my wife is like a 4-time generation potato farmer from Idaho. We met in college and moved out here in '93. So she's from here, I'm not, but I am so thankful to have just found so many absolutely magnificent spots. And what I did is, when I first moved here, is I got an Idaho atlas, and it's really a neat thing to find, and you basically can go through and find every single kind of state little spot or little park. And I just started driving around, and that picture that I had with the waterfall is actually near what's called the Ashton Dam, Ashton, in Ashton, Idaho, in the eastern part of the state. But if you were to drive by, you'll never see it. You'll never even know you can get to the dam. because there's this you have to go down this road that looks like you're kind of infringing on someone's property, but it's actually a state run road. And then you get down to this area, and years ago, they in a lot of these dams, they had people actually living there and monitoring the dams and taking care of them and doing all sorts of stuff. And I don't know how they do that now, if they still do that or not. But it's this neat little property with these home that looks like it was built back in the 20s or 30s. But then you kind of got to go under this brush and make cut your way down this really steep hill to the river. And man, it's just incredible fishing. It's so fun. And probably the biggest thing I love about it, and what I found out about Idaho that I love the most is, um, and I really think this is something that you have to teach people, but you to to teach people how to care for the next person. So I got into a habit of carrying a trash bag, because I would pick up trash I would find, because I can tell you that the times that I've littered, I didn't know I was littering. I accidentally dropped
Mm,
something, or I
mhm,
left something
mhm.
on not on purpose, and so and when I'm at those places, I just help clean up. I want to make it look so that way, uh, I feel like I'm doing my part and keeping it clean, leaving only footprints, kind of a thing, and taking only pictures, kind of a deal. And that's really why then, as the more I got into the sport of fishing, I felt like it was more of a duty for me to try and share that information, which is why then I started guiding and working part time at places like Cabela's for years when I was younger and stuff like that in the fly shop, because I was just letting people know that it's a beautiful state. There's lots of magnificent fishing you can do. You can actually fish from Hell's Canyon near Oxbow Reservoir. And then one day, my buddy and mine and I went fished that area, hit smallmouth bass. Went then and drove all the way over to outside of Mountain Home. Went into the South Fork of the Boise and caught some awesome fish, rainbow trout, and actually had a bunch of otters kind of mug us in a way that day. And then we ended the day by driving, because it's light out until 10 o'clock in the summer. So then we drove out to Henry's Lake and stayed at this place called Elk Creek Ranch. If you look up Elk Creek Ranch, it's absolutely the most magnificent place you'll ever stay. It's an
Really?
actual old log cabin stagecoach stop on the way to Yellowstone when Theodore Roosevelt had deemed Yellowstone the first national park. And it's run by Mennonites, and these amazing Mennonites. I mean, you'll go to this Elk Creek Ranch and stay in these magnificent little homes, these little cabins, and they'll ask you, what would you like for breakfast? And what do you have? Well, what would you like? Well, I don't know. I like bacon and eggs. Okay, what time would you like it? What time are you serving breakfast? What time would you like it? And then they're just so hospitable. So we ended the evening or the day fishing all the way across the state and ended up and fished Henry's Fork that evening. And the Mennonites had peach cobbler waiting for us at 10 o'clock that night. It was friggin' awesome.
Wow. What
So
an
all
amazing
across the
place.
state, just beautiful. So it's a great place to fish. It's a great place to see, lots of nature and enjoy, God's creation. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like
Well, I
those
love
the
what you said.
Oh, go ahead, dear.
Go ahead, Jerry.
No, no, you go ahead.
Well, I love what you said right off about, leave it better than you found it. Because number one thing, no matter what we're doing, in the outdoors, is we all need to hold each other accountable to keeping these places beautiful, and unfortunately there are people who just show up and just kind of leave a mess behind. So I love that. I love the fact that you're saying that, because that's something that with my family, my friends, whether we're camping or hunting or backpacking, it's always leave it better than you found it. And I think that's a great message with all these topics we're going to have. And just respect and take care of what we do have, because
Yeah.
some of these areas, if we're not managing them properly, we'll lose access. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate you saying
Yeah.
that, Nate.
Well,
I think
years ago, I don't know if you remember on the news, they closed, what was that? Grimes Creek. They closed Grimes Creek because it was, I think during COVID,
Hmm.
because it was just littered with trash and everything. And anyway, I called up a couple of my buddies. I said, you know what? Let's go up and clean it, man. Because the thing is, uh, I think that's the difference, that what makes Idaho so special, in my opinion. There's beautiful places all across this absolutely magnificent country. But the difference that I found is in places like this is that we have to hold ourselves and each other accountable. Doesn't mean to blame each other,
Hmm.
doesn't mean to sit there and complain about each other. But so anyway, my a couple buddies, I called up because on the news they said they're closing Grimes Creek. I'm like, what the why? And well, it's because a bunch of jerks didn't, they were littering the place during COVID and everyone's camping and no know what to do. Well, so we went up there and just took a bunch of pickups and we help them out, man, because that's our place. I feel like I'm the public landowner, so I want to act like one,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, that's right. You just nailed it. Everybody should act like that's like part of their place, because it is. And if we don't treat it, with that respect of like, I want to keep it nice, then the next guy doesn't. Um, I was gonna I was gonna say, one of the things that I was fortunate enough to be exposed to at a young age is my uncle was a big time fisherman. I mean, he just loves it. He lives and breathes it. I mean, he's 98, and he still would get out with his son and do some fishing. He's a goer, um, but he really got me into creek fishing and high mountain lake fishing, and that
Mm.
was something that I had a chance to do quite a bit when I was young. And we were always trying to find, like, he's really into the different spinners and the maps and the Colorado and the different this that anyway, I had so much of that. It ended up translating into, when I got older, I did a lot of backpacking and would backpack into high mountain lakes, or where there would be some good streams, and I would just carry a little ultralight setup and um, just spend days in the woods hiking, covering ground, and then finding a new fishing hole. And what a great way to experience Idaho and so much of the outdoors that we have to offer. But um, one of the things, growing up along the Snake River, I just lived a stone's throw from it, and we used to float down in a canoe and just a little trolling motor on it, and we'd catch and fish smallmouth bass,
Oh
and
yeah.
just had a ball, um, just floating down the river, and then just run out a little troll every once in a while to hold us in a spot where we were hitting them. And I wouldn't advise standing up in a canoe on the Snake, but
No,
it's good
yeah.
fishing.
There are so many magnificent places like so were you down outside of Marsing in that area or where?
Yeah, so I grew up between Parma, Marsing, and Homedale. Like, it was called Arena Valley. So the Snake River ran right past me, coming from Homedale direction, out in front of me, around to Adrian and on.
Yeah. So are you familiar with Lonesome Dove out in Adrian? Have you heard of that?
The No.
So in Adrian, Oregon, there's a great little place called Lonesome Dove.
Is it
And
a pond? Fishing pond?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was there. I was there many moons ago.
yeah. That's a great place. And that whole area too, like out in that area in the Owahis, for the audience to know is it really is a magnificently beautiful area. If you're My wife doesn't think so because it's hard for her to see past the desert. Like she just sees
Mm-hmm.
sagebrush and rock. But if you're able to pull back, like the Oahe River is one of the most beautiful rivers, I think. It's just magnificent and it's so blue and crystal clear. And that's right on the border of Idaho. It's in that Adrian area, as you know. But
Yeah.
this whole Snake River Valley, all the way through to the eastern side of the state has just some magnificent, beautiful areas to play and to fish and uh, to and a lot of times when you go there in the summer, there's not a lot of people. Like in Swan Falls, there's times there could be like on a Friday or Saturday night, maybe it might be bad in the summer or on a holiday. But a lot of times you could go on a, Wednesday after work and it doesn't get dark until 10 and you and the family can have the whole place to yourself for 4 or 5 hours, you
Yeah.
know?
The thing that's so great as well with the fishing is that, I mean, you've got the trout fishing, like I say, you got some sturgeon stuff there. You've got some pretty good smallmouth, largemouth bass. And a story on that, I grew up, everything I fished, I'd keep and eat. And
Mm.
so one time when I was rodeoing and I was traveling with some guys, they took me. There was a bull riding in Cambridge, Idaho, and we were there for the
Hmm.
weekend competing. It was a 2-day event, and they said, "Hey, let's go over to the Ben Ross Reservoir. And there's some largemouth there." I hadn't
Oh,
caught a
that's so
largemouth,
awesome.
and I had my normal setup. So we're out wading into the water a little bit. We're fishing. Also, I'm just hitting them, largemouth, just hitting it. I mean, I thought this was amazing. And I had my normal routine where I have a little stringer that I have on my belt loop there that goes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he was just getting at a good
No.
part of the story too.
He's building suspense. He'll come
And
back
it was
on
a
and
Jonah. It was
Hey,
a Jonah of a whale, a big old fish.
we got to
hey,
remember
Nate.
where he got cut off. What's that, Keith?
Yeah, his
Hey,
belt
Nate.
loop,
Where?
belt loop.
What's that, Keith?
What's the best fishing closest to Boise, Idaho?
Truly, the Boise River. Boise River is absolutely magnificent, and there's lots of great ponds and stuff too. So, like, I've even fly fished Kleiner. I fly fish. I have a great story where I think it's
Kleiner
called
is in Meridian.
McDivitt. Yeah, McDivitt Pond, which is on the corner of Ustick and or Eagle and McMillan or Ustick and McMillan, I forget. But at any rate, a little pond when our girls were little, they're in their 20s now, but we went out there bass fishing, and it- there's a lot of great areas in town, but the best without a doubt is the Boise River. The Boise River has so many magnificent, healthy. It is a really healthy ecosystem that the state has done a great job, I think, in my opinion, of making that Boise River a vibrant part of our community. Number one, it's clean. It's a beautiful water system that you can, if you haven't, you can float in the summer. It's super fun, and it gets really, really, really crowded on the river, but it's super fun to float. You're not supposed to bring any booze or
Oh yeah.
glass bottles or anything like that. So it's nice because you don't have a bunch of hoodlums making it a terrible time. It's a wonderful family experience. But the Boise River, starting from Barber Park Dam, right where you get in to float the river, Barber Park Dam, all the way down to Americana Boulevard. Okay, I'm sorry, you were talking about your belt loop.
We lost you. Did you get? Sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I had a string of largemouth tied to my stringer on my belt loop in the water, and we're fishing. My buddies are handing me their largemouth bass. So I mean, I've got like 4 or 5 on that stringer in the water right alongside me. We're the only ones there. All of a sudden, a car pulls up, a truck pulls up, and it looks like it could be possibly fishing game or someone. And they all of a sudden say, "Hey, get rid of those fish! Drop those fish!" And I'm like, "Well, why?" And they're like, "Well, we're not supposed to keep them here." Well, they didn't tell me that. The whole time they let me be putting them on a stringer and thinking I'm catching some fish that I'm going to get to take eat. So I was a sucker because they just let me do that, thinking, well, if he wants to keep them and try to get them home, we'll let him.
Wow.
Well, there's
Wow.
a lot. So there are. It's funny that you went to Ben Ross. Ben Ross is. Yeah, I love that little place. There's lots of wonderful little ponds all throughout the whole entire state. Lakes, high mountain lakes, up like Goose Mountain, a Goose Lake up outside of Brundage and McCall, a wonderful hike, an amazing mountain bike ride. I mean, is that is something. And then you can bike all the way around like Payette Lake in McCall, and that's a fun thing to do. And it's not, it takes a long time, but it's not real technical, and you can fish. But that Ben Ross is a neat place. There's lots of great little places to fish all throughout the entire state, up and down, north and south, east and west. And probably if you're new to fishing or if you're new to doing something, the best thing you could do is prepare for, um, because a lot of times for fishing with kids, it gets actually pretty boring pretty quick for a lot of kids because if you're not catching, it's pretty boring for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so you want something to think about what you're gonna do and how long you're gonna fish and until. But there in June every year, the Idaho Fish and Game, has like if you look it up, it's like a fish for free day or something. It's in June, and you can go to places like Eagle Island State Park. I think Kleiner probably has some different things. CJ Strike has some different things. But you can go out and really learn how to fish and how some tricks into learning how to catch more fish and to be careful with your fish if you're not going to keep them. If you're like, I don't keep a lot of any of my fish mostly. So I want to make sure I handle them really carefully. And like, here's a little trick that some people might not know, but if you actually turn a fish upside down, it kind of puts them into a little bit of a shock, and you can take that hook out of their mouth a lot easier than sitting there letting them, you know, jump around and
Good
your
point.
kids go crazy or whatever. But
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's so many different styles of fishing too that you do. I mean, fly fishing is a big deal in a lot of these rivers, and it's kind of a poetic, type of fishing. It's really neat, top water, or you're just pocket water, or wet fly, and all these different things you can do. You can float tube and reservoirs and lakes, but then there's good old just bait. Put a hook, worm on a hook, and a little bit of corn, or maybe some power bait, and then there's some good, spinner bait, type fishing, and or you're in a boat trolling, and there's just many different ways of doing it, so everybody can kind of partake.
So
I'm looking it up here real quick. Yeah, go ahead. There it is.
is there a like a local small business, kind of a fly shop, kind of a place that you guys prefer or recommend instead of just hitting the big shops like Cabela's or whatever? Like, where's the best place to go get some local knowledge?
Where do you go, DR?
Yeah, that's a good question. There was a place in Caldwell, um, and he's no longer that. I don't think he's there anymore because it'd been a minute since I've actually gone in. But that's a good question. I don't know of a lot of just small mom and pop type shops. My boys are the fishermen now. I kind of just, they're the ones that go and get it, and I just make sure they're all set up. So I don't know a good answer to that. Nate probably has a go-to spot.
One of the best places that you could go is your local True Value hardware store if they still have fish and stuff. You'll find the old guy who runs the place, most of them all franchised, and he'll help you. But having said that, the cool thing about the Sportsman's Warehouse or Cabela's, or I think Shields now even, that's going to be coming in this next spring, those places, like when I was at Cabela's in their fly shop, every day I would get the fishing report, and I was a really avid fly fisherman at the time, so I had a really good pulse on what was good. So I would write on the board every day what was on there or when I was working, and what to use, and how the water was running. Idaho basically has 3 seasons for fishing. Winter, which is one of the best times to fish, but obviously not a lot of people go because it's too cold. But you can fish the rivers in the winter. You can fish the lakes before they ice up in the river in the winter. You can fish the ponds in there. and it really is a good time, especially on a beautiful day like we had today here in November. There, it is great fishing. The second season is your spring runoff. Spring runoff, what happens is the all that snow melt is so muddy and dirty, it's hard to fish, and it's not very safe to fish the rivers because they're running really, really fast. So you focus your attention on the lakes and the ponds. And then the last part of the third season, if you will, of fishing is that mid to late summer. And that's really when Idaho has an incredible amount of river fishing. And so if you go into some of these old hardware stores, Keith, you'll find a lot of stuff. But like in terms of fly fishing, there's a lot of really good local fly fishing shops. TRR, which is actually owned by this lady who owns a bunch of land there in Eagle, down in Eagle, Idaho. There's Angler's Fly Shop. There's I think the other one's the Idaho Angler down off of, I think it's Overland or Orchard or something. But a lot of those places, although those guys are old, cantankerous, kind of grouchy dudes, they're willing to tell
The
you
best.
their secrets most of the time, you know. And it really is. I think it's one of those things where it's just I love it because I've been fishing on. One time I was fishing on the eastern side of the state in a little channel off of Henry's Fork, and while I was fishing there, in this short span, I saw deer, then I saw elk, I had a moose come across, I
A
had an
moose.
eagle, yeah, moose. I had an eagle come right down after. I mean, this sounds so like, but this happened not all at the same time, but in while I was there, this osprey went down, grabbed the fish, and the eagle came up, grabbed it, and took it out of the osprey.
Wow.
I saw otters. I
Woohoo.
mean, it was like I'm sitting down there going, "This is paradise, man. This is absolute paradise."
Yeah.
Um, and it's just one of those times when you can. I really encourage anyone who even might not like to fish um, to go and spend some time by the river, spend some time just reflecting on their life and who they are, and hopefully spending some time with their creator and understanding the importance of the things around us, but seeing why this
Hmm.
state really is. There's something beautifully unique and different. And I think it's the people. I think it's the blessing that God's put on these people, but it's the people who make this place so great. There's a lot of other places that are just as beautiful, but there's something really magnificent here that it's just so peaceful and almost kind of virgin and untouched. It's really cool.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I think the beauty, and we touched on it earlier, is you can, basically 5 minutes and you're there from the green belt. I popped it up earlier, and hopefully it's still on that page. But basically, it was a map, on our site or any site for that matter. But it'll show you that excuse me, the green belt just basically goes through town from east to west. So pretty much wherever you're at in the Treasure Valley here, um, up up by the dam, the river just kind of meanders all the way through town, and of course up by the dam we've got lakes up there, Lake Lowell down here in the Nampa Caldwell area. So you don't have to go far to start fishing. Of course, if you want to hit the avid fishing areas like Nate and DR have been talking about, for sure. But if you just want to take the afternoon off and be home, later in the evening, you can accomplish
So
all that.
I used to work out in
Absolutely.
Nampa for a short period of time, and when I worked in Nampa, there's a place in Nampa called the Wilson Ponds, and
Hmm.
I would go there for my lunch hour. Like I was 5 minutes from there. I'd go down Wilson Pond. I'd have peanut butter jelly sandwich. I'd do some fly fishing on my lunch hour. And Boise in this area has those abilities. Keith, also something that's really cool, like in the area you're asking the best places to go. A lot of the ponds are fun because you can go on to the Idaho Fish and Game. There's a thing called Fish Planner. There's also Hunt Planner. There's all sorts of cool stuff. But you can go on the Fish Planner and plan where you think you'd like to go, and you can filter it down. One of the neat things is that you can see when the state Fish and Game is going to release fish into a particular water or an area.
Oh, nice.
So let's say you got the family and you go,
Right.
oh man, they're going to release 3,000 fish into Kleiner Pond on Sunday. We're going to go there Monday, or whatever. So there's some really neat opportunities for you to then just those little tricks you can kind of find. The last thing I'll say real quick is there's a really neat place in near Twin Falls, near what's called the Clear Lake Golf Course. A lot of golf courses do this on the down low, but you can pay to fish their lakes. The Clear Lake Country Club, it's $12 a day, I think, is all. Might be less than that, but it's the country club and the golf course is directly below one of the world's, if not the world's, one of the world's largest trout farms. So all the remnants, or I don't know how it works, but flows into this little pond that there's no motorized stuff. You can either fish it from the bank, you can wade it, or you can go out on your little kick boats. But there are monster fish, and it's a fun place to go with the kids. I mean, it's a fun place to go as an avid fly fisherman because it's not easy because they're fished a lot, so they get really leader shy, and the fish kind of know your tricks and know your games. But you get lucky, and there's some big fish out there. It's really fun, and it's only about an hour and a half from Boise. It's a neat little
You're
drive.
talking about
Nice.
Hagerman.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Hagerman.
And near
is
Hagerman,
the,
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
where 90% of all the trout sold in the United States comes from.
That's right. Yep, that's the ticket. It's a that's a cool little valley down in there. It's neat.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
yeah, that's a fun spot.
Yeah, well, guys,
And
we were trying to keep it short and sweet, but man, obviously a big topic. We're almost 45 minutes into it. Unless there's something else you'd absolutely like our audience to know before we part ways. But is there anything else you thought that?
well,
Yeah, go
I
for
have
it.
one thing real quick here. So there was this guy that went out and he was catching just a crap ton of fish over at Ben Ross Reservoir. He was catching more fish than he could ever believe. He's coming home. He's saying to everybody, "Oh, I catch all these fish all the time," and everyone's like, "Man, that's a lot of fish. I can't believe it. I've never heard people catching that much. Hundreds, thousands of fish." So the game warden says, "You know what? I'm going to go out with you tomorrow, and we're going to fish, and I want to see how you're catching fish." And this young guy who was catching fish said, "Okay, sure, no problem." So they go out, and they get out in the middle of the lake, and the young guy opens up his tackle box, and the warden says, "I can't wait to see what you're catching all these fish on." And he pulls out a stick of dynamite. He lights it, and then takes it and hands it to the game warden. And the game warden guy goes, "Holy crap! You can't do this. This is against the law. You can't fish like this." And the young guy says, "Are you going to fish? Or are you going to talk?"
I love it.
Right.
That's a perfect note to end on, guys. But sincerely, we appreciate your time. We're hoping that our audience, get some ideas about what they can do here in Idaho, and I think we all welcome them, reaching out to us and seeing how we can all go fishing together. So, with that, gentlemen, appreciate your time, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Good
Have a
night.
blessed one.
Thank you.
Take care.